How's it going, everybody? It's Pride here and welcome back to another video. So, just yesterday, or today, depending on when I decide to upload this video, we had our first look at Fromsoftware's new game, Elden Ring. Now, it's mainly, a little teaser, a little story teaser probably. I'm guessing people who are smarter than me within the next couple days are going to end up making videos talking about everything that it's related to just from a couple of cinematics. But what we could look at is just yesterday as well, the same day, pretty much like 30 minutes after the teaser came out, Xbox.com released an interview with Hidetaka Miyazaki talking about their new game. Now, I kind of opened this thing up and I skimmed a little bit through it, not really too much. The only thing that I really saw were a couple things saying that it's going to be an open world and, similar style combat to Dark Souls, or at least that's what I think it meant. And then I just kind of shut it down because I'm like, oh shit, I could make a video on this and, read it over with you guys, give you guys my first initial opinions. It's kind of long, not really too long though. So obviously, let's go ahead and start off from the top. It just says, forged from the minds of two of the most influential fantasy world builders today, Miyazaki and Hidetaka. Oh wait, no, it's Miyazaki and George R. R. Martin. There are a couple of interesting things in this. One of the craziest things that we can see, especially in the beginning, this game has been worked on since the Dark Souls 3 DLC was released. Since Ring City was released, they've been working on this thing, on this game. Miyazaki says development for Elden Ring started just after development for the Dark Souls 3 DLC. At the time, Elden Ring was being planned as a more classic fantasy title compared to the others that were either being considered or already in the early stages of development. So this game, it's not something overnight. Even though Fromsoftware kind of sets like a crazy pace for their games, they pretty much release a new game every single year and have done that since like Dark Souls 2 or Dark Souls 1. They still put a lot of time, like most of the games are pretty much developed 2 years. And I was really thinking about that, mainly that it's crazy that their quality very rarely declines. It's almost always getting better. So here we have probably our first sign that this game might be a, let's say, Souls-like game, maybe. Or at least kind of have that similar style. So this dude asks, what genre do you think Elden Ring will fall under? Miyazaki replies, it is a third-person action RPG. So pretty much what you would describe Dark Souls. It says, unlike Sekiro, which has a heavy focus on action, it has a lot of parries, pretty much riposte. It's not really like Dark Souls where you're going to want to block all the time. There's not really any stat leveling or anything in Sekiro where you can make stuff better or have magic or anything like that. No, it's just straight up your sword and that's it. And they pretty much say that Elden Ring is going to put more of a focus on those RPG elements. So like Dark Souls, there's probably going to be, levels. There's going to be different stats that you can level. Probably a fair amount of different weapons and equipment. Miyazaki goes on to say, of course, we are not shying away from the fun of responsive melee-based combat, and these elements will be present as well. So this is kind of why, I don't think it's going to be exactly the way, we see the same combat in Dark Souls. It is most likely going to be some of that, maybe refined a little bit. Fromsoftware, man, they go from Dark Souls to Bloodborne, and then from that to Sekiro. I'd say the combat in those 3 games is pretty different, especially for Sekiro was a big leap to something completely different that they never really classified at all as a Souls-like, and a lot of us do kind of consider it still a Souls-like with some of these similar gameplay aspects of it. The third-person action combat, hack and slash with your sword. I feel a lot of people would consider that a Souls-like game, even though the real elite gamers just added Aikido to Soulsborne in that title. By the way, what the hell are we going to call this series now? Soulsborne Aikido Wings. That's not bad, actually. Okay, so pretty much from here on, after this point, I haven't read any of these, so the guy says, do you believe this title will turn out to be a very From-like and challenging game? Yes, I do. The importance we place on the joy the player experiences through overcoming challenges will be the same as it is in our other titles. I believe it will prove to be a very satisfying experience. So that's pretty much confirming the game's most likely going to be hard as shit. A lot of people, including myself, right when Sekiro came out, we all were like, Sekiro is the pinnacle of difficulty in the Soulsborne Ekido. And then kind of when you get used to the combat, you realize that it's so good. You can actually get good at it, and most of the things will be fairly easy and pretty much doable. You'll never die, especially when you start getting a little bit more powerful and you start leveling up a little bit and getting more attack power in that game. Things do become a little bit easier. Obviously, there are ways to make it harder, but for the most part, I would still say Bloodborne is the pinnacle of difficulty in these Soulsborne Ekido games. I laugh in my head every time I say it because I know somebody's probably getting annoyed by it. Earlier had said that this title focuses more heavily on RPG elements. This title will include a wide variety of weapons, magics, and ways to engage enemies that make it possible to provide users with a style of gameplay and strategy that suits them. So there we go. It is actually not going to be one weapon like in Sekiro. There's going to be magic, probably different types of magic, you know, the same way we see in Dark Souls. Fucking sick, dude. Even when compared to the Dark Souls series, I believe this title will provide even more variety in the ways for players to overcome challenges and tweak their tactics when facing enemies. So one of the things I know that they did say, and Fromsoftware tweeted it themselves, is that this is going to be the largest Fromsoftware game. Now, I don't know if they mean that in scale, in terms of the map. Again, I know that they said it was going to be open world. It's going to be cool to see if weapons and stuff are added to that large, because I mean Dark Souls has a shit ton of weapons, even though you could say there's basically like maybe a dozen and a half weapons really, because most of them have the exact same moveset. This game's already sounding awesome. Elden Ring contained character customization elements. This is also something I did see because it was in the headline. So yeah, this is going to have character customization, which was one of people's biggest complaints for Sekiro. Even though obviously we knew it wasn't going to have character customization because it's a story game, rather than this, which is an RPG game. Similar to Dark Souls series, Elden Ring allows players to design and control their own unique character. Unique is a good word, Miyazaki. With the goddamn monstrosities that people make in that game. Have you seen busty patches, for Christ's sakes? As I said earlier, this title puts a heavy focus on RPG elements, and we thought this approach would be best suit that focus. So yeah, character customization, if you were one of those people who never played Sekiro because you can't make an ugly monster, then here you have your game. Oh, here we have a long response from Miyazaki. The dude asks, regarding the collaboration with George R.R. Martin, can you further explain how this collaboration came about and in what role it has served throughout the project? Miyazaki says, I suppose the start of this collaboration came from the fact that I myself am a huge fan of Mr. Martin's work. I don't know why. I don't think I've ever heard somebody call him Mr. Martin, but I guess if somebody's being respectful. You don't call Stuart Little Mr. Little, you call him Stuart. He said, me being such a known fan of Mr. Martin caused our executive business director, Echi Nakajima, to reach out to him with the expectations that we would get turned down. However, we were then given the rare opportunity to talk one-on-one with Mr. Martin, which was an incredibly fun and stimulating experience. It was then that I strongly felt that I wanted to work with Mr. Martin. I am still unable to put into words how grateful I am. So pretty much, George R.R. Martin handled the mythos of this game, huh? Because it says, this allowed us to have many free and creative conversations regarding the game, in which Mr. Martin later used as a base to write the overarching mythos for the game world itself. God, I bet that's going to be amazing. This mythos proved to be full of interesting characters and drama along the plethora of mystical and mysterious elements as well. It was a wonderful source of stimulus for me and the development staff. Elden Ring's world was constructed using the mythos and stimulus as a base. Even I myself find it hard to contain excitement from time to time. We hope that everyone else is looking forward to the world we have created. It is cool to see Miyazaki being super excited about this game. Oh man, that gets me so excited because I feel like even if he's excited because somebody he really admires worked on something with him, then that thing is probably fantastic. So I already have my hopes so high that I know my heart will break when this game comes out, and it's a 10 out of 10. Alright, here we have, what are some of the differences when compared to your previous titles, especially Dark Souls? If I were to put aside the world full of flesh stimulus thanks to our collaborations with Mr. Martin, I would have to say the biggest difference is being open world. Oh man, just those words. An open world Souls-like with a mythos written by George R. R. Martin and Miyazaki, and the world is being worked on by him and his team at Fromsoftware. That doesn't even sound real. That sounds like a myth somebody made up. Due to this, the scale of the world and its narrative as well as the depth and freedom of exploration have increased dramatically. It is without a doubt our biggest title yet in terms of sheer volume, so pretty much the map is probably way bigger than anything Dark Souls has done. Now I wouldn't say Dark Souls games are typically huge. Sometimes they feel huge, like especially for me. Even though I don't think it's the biggest one, Dark Souls 1 felt huge, mainly because I feel there wasn't fast travel and you had to run everywhere pretty much. Dark Souls 1 always felt like you keep going deeper and down and down. There's such different levels. There's castles where you're walking around and there's giant buildings and you're in a volcano basically where it's hell. And then it goes even lower. Like that game always felt giant to me, even though if you look at the map, it's really cool where it's just basically straight down. So it's interesting to see him say that this is probably the biggest world. And unlike Dark Souls where it's fairly linear, where for the most part you could see a place and you're like, okay, I want to go there. I remember that was one of the biggest talking things for Dark Souls 3. It's like, oh, if you see a place, you can go there. Now in this game, you'll maybe even be able to literally do that anywhere. Rather than, oh, well, you can't go that way in Dark Souls because there's a wall there. No, you'll be able to go there in this game. You can do it only $60. And a dream. There are many definitions to the term open world, and I might not be phrasing it correctly, but we have simply tried our own approach to a game with a large open field to play, and that's good. It's their own spin to it. It's going to be interesting to see what they do, and if they have any, linear aspects to that open world, like, oh, you're going to have to do some missions. There's only a main story. Among those areas, you will also find intricately designed multi-layered castles and such. Whew, those are going to be interesting. So that's fucking awesome, because those are some of my favorite things about Dark Souls. There's a lot of really well-designed areas and like buildings and giant buildings. So it's cool to see that even in this giant open world, we'll still find those type of places in this. What is the meaning behind the title? Elden Ring is the name given to a mysterious concept that defines the world itself. As the trailer at the conference implied, the Elden Ring has been shattered. The significance of this will be one of the important themes of the game. That's about all I can say at this point in time. Dang it, Miyazaki. Why can't you just tell me what happens at the end? Will Elden Ring contain the gritty, intense boss fights we've all come to love and expect from? Yes, of course, boss fights are something we enjoy making and make up one of the climaxes to this title as well. Okay, so it's good to know. Apart from the regular challenges that you get in open worlds, the good old boss fights we know and love from the Dark Souls series. I should say the Soulsborne Ekido series. We feel there is a wide variety of unique and horrifying bosses for players to look forward to. It's interesting that he said the word horrifying, but I guess, this game does have some type of mythos to it. It's not going to be armored knights and shit that we know. There's going to be dragons and monsters and stuff. And I think this is possibly the last question, yeah. What can you teach us about the character shown in the concept art that was released? So if you didn't already see, here is the concept art. Looks really goddamn cool. Reminds me of Lothric. You got a face here. Oh, and a face there. You have this giant sword that goes from like a straight sword right into what looks like a Fire Link greatsword. And there's fire everywhere. He also looks big. He looks like one of those bosses that's going to be 15 feet tall. Actually, you can see the player character literally right there standing. Miyazaki says, we chose this character because of the eccentric aspects as well as the way he portrays the darkness that the world and story possess. While Elden Ring may be a classic dark fantasy title, it is more than just that. This character also represents one more theme in addition to the previously mentioned eccentricity. I'm going to be honest, I don't know if I've ever heard that word. That theme is the will or ambition of mankind. That's pretty much the moment where Miyazaki just stood up, started to take his mic off. The guy's like, Miyazaki, what are you doing, sir? And then he put his mic down and then just walked out the door without saying two more words. And then right when he was about to close the door, he opened it back up and said, we are so excited to finally bring this collaboration to the world. There is so much more we will share with you in the future. Be sure to follow Elden Ring on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook so you can be the first to see new info on the exciting collaboration between George R. R. Martin, Hidetaka Miyazaki, and Bandai Namco Entertainment. And then he closed the door. Oh, Miyazaki. I'm ready. I am ready for this game. But considering we ain't get any type of release date coming soon, anything like that, this is for sure a deep 2020 game, most likely. That hype train, man, that hype train is going 7,200 miles per hour. Definitely gonna derail and kill everyone on the train. And I hope you guys are excited as well, man. I'm glad I didn't read this beforehand and I got to read it with all of you together. I read like the first 3 questions, all right? Sue me. Let me know what you guys think, though. Are you guys excited for this game? Does this game seem like something that you are interested in? If you're a fan of Dark Souls, I can't see how it's not, man. It's just, even of video games in general, this game sounds awesome. Open world RPG with a world created by Miyazaki and George R.R. Martin. It has spells and weapons, a mythos that's written by George R.R. Martin, a world designed by Hidetaka Miyazaki with intricate castles and stuffs and boss fight. I just can't wait. This honestly might be like the most excited I've ever been about a Fromsoftware game. Anything that they do for this game, you know, any type of trailers or anything like that, I'll probably go ahead and try to cover on this. If any new info gets released and it's similar to this, you most likely will see the comment section where I will leave a comment with any new updates or the description. I don't know how many people would have made it this far. There's no way anybody made it this far, but I guess if you did, a like is very much appreciated. Thank you very much if you do. Leave a like. I'm excited for this game, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are as well. Thank you very much for watching the video, and I'll see you all next time. Peace, everybody.